Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Grow with Ruben podcast, where we have conversations with interesting people and just everyday people just doing the most, grinding every single day. And I strongly believe that, by having these conversations, these people tend to leave tips, advice, tidbits, clues on just anything that comes from their success without even wanting to do that. So it is an honor to have Lovely Metellus. How you doing?
Hi, how are you? I'm doing good.
Awesome.
I'm doing good.
I'm doing good. How were you able to escape after, your super busy schedule? I know that you stay busy.
I do stay busy. My schedule is pretty hectic. Between being a wife, a mom, an entrepreneur,
Yep.
Also effectively, having a women's empowerment group and running a nonprofit,
Yeah.
and being an agent.
Exactly. Yeah.
My schedule is very, very taxing,
Yeah.
but I'm happy that everything has its pocket. So
Right.
Yeah.
So how do you feel that, how do you see yourself like planning every single day, kind of going about your day? Do you put anything in front of the other, or is it just like, okay, today's focus is my nonprofit, or how do you go about planning out your day?
Well, my day really is planned out very strategically. I start my mornings very early.
Okay.
Typically, I try to do 5 a.m.s, especially on Tuesdays. And that's our day where my daughter or myself or the both of us, prayer is how I start my day. Like,
Okay.
I have to focus everything, clear my mind, and have a plan.
Yeah.
Another thing is I'm attached to my planner.
Okay.
I have alarms ringing and chiming and telling me when to do what to do,
Yeah.
on the constant, on a regular. And then I also make sure that my team, which is my family,
Yeah.
is fully aware of my schedule.
Yeah.
They know when I'm doing what, who I'm doing it with, so that way
Yeah.
they can keep me accountable. They actually will be like, well, Mom or honey, don't you have this to do this day, kind
Yeah.
of thing. So I plan everything. Everything's organized.
Yeah.
So.
That's good. That's good to have plans.
Yeah.
I'm just this chaotic person that's all over the place.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that I actually need to practice on, because I just can't get it right. But
Yeah.
we're doing our best.
We're
right?
growing. We're growing with Ruben.
We're growing with Ruben. That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
Right. So that's awesome. So tell me a little bit more about, like, what are you doing right now? I know, like I said, we just mentioned everything that you're doing. What's most important to you right now that you've been working on?
What's very, very important to me is, of course, self-growth.
Yeah.
I can't pour into any of my commitments or my responsibilities until I am doing what is required for me to be healthy, heart, mind, and body. So constantly evolving. Naturally, I'm a learner.
Yeah.
So I make a constant effort to grow in just emotional intelligence, self-awareness,
Yeah.
know who I am, know what I need that day, what
Right.
can be done and what can't be done. If I don't start my day that way with knowing where I'm at,
Yeah.
then I can't function in the different roles. So that's huge for me. So right now and every day until I lay to rest, it's important for me to know me, learn me more and more every day.
Yeah.
And then secondly, I am home first as far as my husband, my children. I've been married for 19 years, going on 20. My children, I'm married for a long time, and I have 5 children. And so all of the things that I tell you, everything I'll shut down for home.
Okay.
The peace and the sanctity of my home means everything to me. So that's important for me. And so making sure my kids feel like they're loved, that they have attention. And it's not easy.
Yeah.
It's not easy. But if I can schedule everything else, of course I can schedule times with them.
Yeah.
So that's important. So besides me, family, then everything else.
I like that you brought that up, because I know that that's actually a huge problem with entrepreneurs. Is and a lot of marriages end up in divorce due to just either the entrepreneur not being home enough for the kids or enough for the wife or husband.
Yeah.
So you doing all that you're doing, I know that you're saying you're home first. Do you try to do like an activity with your kid every single day, or what do you do exactly to show that love?
I'm so happy you asked me. So I shared this with one of my ladies in my empowerment group. And I said to them, I said, it's so important that our children really do know that mommy is available and accessible. And so the way that I do that is I literally give them a me and mommy date. So after this podcast, I have a 5:30 mother and son date, at his school. And so I have to do those things. I have to make sure that they have dates with me, just like I would date my husband. I date my kids.
Yeah.
And it's one-on-one. Sometimes, of course, we do group things, but it's so important that you pull each child to the side because they all need different things.
Right.
I mean, and I can go on and on. We could do a podcast about momming. I mean, but I mean, you have to take that time to let them know that above what we're striving to attain, that they're always ahead of that. They're before that. Their placement has to be number one. Yeah. And so that's how I do it. I make time for each of them. Sometimes I will send something late or not respond to an email or not give a call back. But if my child says I need to have a conversation, that takes precedence. Yeah. So letting them know that I'm priority, that they're priority, rather, and sitting with them sometimes and just watching what they're watching.
Right.
I mean, seriously, I could be, doing 1,000,010 things, but sometimes I need to take 30 minutes and watch, I don't know, Carmen Sandiego or, whatever they're into at that time.
Carmen Sandiego still a thing?
Yeah, they got new episodes on. Yeah,
but it's just came back out, right? Like it went away for a while.
It did, but it's been back and they love it.
Yeah. Oh snap! I'm sorry about that, guys. Yeah, and by the way, we do have Eric on the controls, and also joined us today
is my 19-year-old daughter, Mariah. Yeah. So.
Already getting experience in, seeing her mom just kill it. I mean, that's just awesome, right? Yeah. So talking back to mommy, because I struggle with that myself, where I put, I got to get my business first, before anything. Yeah. We'll talk about it later. And, but that's just the truth, right? And I feel that is like what makes us, right? Mm-hmm. Like if it wasn't for me trying really hard and like working really hard, then, we wouldn't, we probably would, we would find different ways, but I just feel that that's kind of like who I am. Yeah. Right. So I'm never at peace. So I wanted to ask you that. Okay. Right. So you said you journal everything, but you said if you don't have your day planned out, then you're kind of just all over the place and you can't function. Yeah. Right. So how do you, recollect yourself and put yourself back on track without, so I'll give you a little bit of an example of like, I'll lose 30 pounds and then I'm like, okay, well, I can afford some sugar and some carbs. And then I'll completely forget about the diet and then just like get fat again and gain all those 30 pounds. So I'm sure that you recollect yourself way before you gain something back.
No, as a matter of fact, we can talk about that as well. I want to lose 58 pounds, but that's another podcast for another time.
Yeah. You should check out the podcast, the previous podcast to this episode, and I think you would really enjoy it and take some good tips out of it.
I told you I want to get some of your people to help me out, especially the gentleman that you had on your podcast that does the dinners. So
for sure, that was a good podcast as well. You should check it out if you want some quick cook tips. There's the plug.
Yeah. So to answer your question, I think without a vision, you will perish. What does that mean? Without a vision, you cast off restraint. You don't have a sense of direction. Yeah. And so that is my creed. And my children will tell you, I have a vision statement. I have 2 in my bedroom. Okay. And I have a whole bunch of vision boards literally to the right side of my desk. Okay. I have sticky notes, and what a vision is, it actually reels you back in. So if I'm doing so many things, I have to pull back and say and assess and evaluate constantly. Is this adding to my purpose? Okay. Is it? And so my vision, my husband can see it. Anyone can walk in my bedroom and see it. Yeah. The first thing is God, my faith. Yeah. The second thing is my family. So anything that I'm giving time, attention, money to, my thoughts in the day, whatever's consuming my mind, if it's not feeding towards my vision, then it's futile. Yeah. And it's something that I have to literally throw off. Anything that I am doing every day has to be intentional in building everything that's important to me. Yeah. And so besides my faith, of course, then it's family. And for family, scheduling that is important. So I schedule, I stay to my calendar as best as I can, not flawlessly, right?
Yeah.
And then I let my children and my husband and those who love me hold me accountable.
Yeah.
Accountability is everything. So if my husband needs time, he is at free will to say, hey, I need a date night. I don't care what needs to shut down. We're shutting it down. We got to put a date night on the books. Yeah. If my daughter says, hey, I need time, or my son say I need time, my 7-year-old, she literally runs my house. She is baby number 5. She is my Micaiah Grace. And to be honest with you, she'll tell me, Mommy, I need time.
Yeah.
And she's not apologetic about it. Yeah. She's going to require it. And all of them know that when they ask me for time, I'm going to schedule the time. Yeah. And then I'm going to do what's just for them. I'm not answering emails. Right. I'm not answering. I don't care if it's 30 minutes. Yeah. And we just go to Cookie Crumbles and get sugar and dough for them to eat. But at least that is 30 minutes of me asking them, how are you? How is school? What is your day like? Are you happy? Yeah. Just having that time where they don't have to compete for my attention. It's priceless.
So how do you think that you instilled that, awareness in your kids, right? To be able to even ask for that time, because I know that communication is huge, and not a lot of, and I feel that a lot of people that, in failing and just, you don't understand your children. Yeah. I mean, me growing up, I was kind of, if I can say, ignorant to like the world around me, because there was really no like communication. I was able to see the hustle and the grind every single day, but there was never like, hey, listen, Ruben, the reason that we don't go out to eat every day is because, we save up for this much. If we don't do this, I'll lose my mortgage. Yeah. If, things like that. And it's funny. That's so funny that we're talking about that, because Waleska posted a story on her Instagram. And Waleska is a mutual colleague of ours. Yeah. And the story that she posted on there was like, let's say, a teenage girl dancing in her upstairs bedroom and saying like how she was just dancing while her parents are downstairs, like trying to figure out like how not to get foreclosed on their house. Yeah. And, they were clueless to what was happening. Yeah. Right. So I felt a type of way where I was like, man, that's kind of me. Like, I didn't know, like what needed to be paid. I came with, no responsibilities until life just, came out of nowhere. And was like, hey man, you gotta grow up, Yeah. So how do you instill that awareness in your kids to, be vocal about, hey, look, I'm open to communicating?
Yeah. So with children, more is caught than what is taught. Communication rather, is 90% nonverbal, 10% verbal. So I say that to say the environment, how you respond in the environment is what your kids are picking up. Yeah. So what we have endeavored, when I say we, meaning my husband and I have endeavored to do, is to really create an environment where our kids understand that home is safe space. Yeah. We fight hard to protect the sanctity and the safety of the home. And that starts with communication. That starts with them being able to say how they feel. That starts with them being able to pull me to the side and have what we call truth moments. Okay. Any one of my 5 kids can pull me to the side and say whatever they want to say in our safe moment, and they cannot be disciplined for it. That is their opportunity to say whatever's on their heart, and they can pull me to the side. They're like, "Oh, I don't want my siblings to know." That's not a problem, because each one is an individual, right? And so I think it's really wisdom that I've gained over the years of being a mom of 5 to identify that each child has its own unique needs. Yeah. And I know that you've heard that before, but until you have 5 different personalities staring back at you, you have to find a wise way to be able to meet each need and not let nothing fall through the gaps to the best of your ability, right? Because we're not flawless. We're all growing, right? Growing with Ruben. Yeah. And so I think that that's been the biggest thing, me creating an environment that says, I want to hear what you need to say. I will turn the TV off. Yeah. There is no iPads in my home. There is no technology. My kids are just like, oh my God, we hate it. But they love the fact that what they don't realize now is I'm instilling into them what's going to be lasting when I transition. Yeah. If they don't know how to navigate 4 or 7 different, personalities. It starts at home.
Yeah.
Whatever we see in an adult personality, whatever is missing, is because it wasn't instilled at home.
Right.
So when you go to Waleska's story, we have transparency in our home. If there is an illness, there is a bill that needs to be paid, there's an issue, there's a language by which children do understand. You don't have to divulge everything,
right.
but you need to make them aware. But why? Because life happens, and life is not a cocoon. Right. So if I sit there and only present to them a happy marriage, I fail them. Right. If I present to them only financial success and not reveal the struggle, the grit that's required, the tenacity that's required, I fail them. Because life is going to require it no matter the times. Technology will keep advancing, but the core and the essence of what requires human success, personal and internal success, they are going to need those fundamentals so that they can thrive.
Right.
I don't want boomerangs, like they say. Boomerang is you throw the child back into the world, and because they don't have what it takes, they spring on back. Yeah. And that's not a slight at anyone. Life happens to us all. Right. But my goal and my heart's desire is to steward my children the best that I can.
All right. That's good.
Yeah.
I mean, you won right there. Is there anything that you did different from your first child that you no longer do with your youngest?
Yes. Oh man, God, but I don't even know if I should say this. So I was a teen mom. Okay. I got pregnant at 18 with my first beautiful Mariah Love, and that baby she used to fall all the time. I just didn't understand why she would always. I'm like, why are you on the ground? She wouldn't even cry. So she was dropped a lot.
Okay.
I probably shouldn't say that, but I dropped my other babies less and less.
Okay.
What else? On a serious note, what else did I do besides not drop my kids? I became increasingly more transparent.
Okay.
I found out somewhere in between baby number 2 and 3 that my kids thought I was super mom with the S on my chest.
Okay.
And between that moment, I made a decision that I needed to be vulnerable.
Right.
I needed them to see that true strength is in being broken, but making sure that you endeavor to persevere through that.
Yeah.
So I allow my kids to see me cry. I allow them to see me be broken, disappointed, be upset, because they need to see, well, how does she navigate that? Mm-hmm. How does she navigate her emotions and still be functional without me wearing a mask, right?
Right.
I try to be it's to the point where people probably like, you probably shouldn't tell your kids, or why?
Right.
Why? You have to, you have to tell them.
Yeah. I to a sense, to
a certain degree.
I've seen it in a negative way, where the parents didn't want like the kids doing anything, unless it was in front of them. So it's like, as long as you do it at home, we don't care. And I was like, oh, well, that's still not the best.
What do you mean? Elaborate on that a little bit.
Sure. So, let's say I think everybody drinks a little bit of wine here and there, right? Mm-hmm. And then some people, smoke on their spare time. So instead of being out in the public, they would, I don't think smoke is that bad, but anything that you're doing, just make sure you do it at home. Yeah. And the parents are just open to that. Make sure you're doing everything at home. Yeah. And I don't know if that was even, I wouldn't know how that would affect the kid.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Let me see if there's a question in there, or if that's just a statement based on just what I saw from that. But yeah, definitely, I think you should be open with your kids. I only have one child, so I have no idea. Right. The only thing I think I did good was sleep training.
That's a start.
Yeah, because Stella was able to sleep from 7 p.m. 7 a.m. and we were good. Okay. And I hear that a lot of people have problems with that.
So. I did.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I nursed them, and they kept me looking like a zombie. I mean, it's like I didn't have a sleep schedule with them, but
I'm sure. And it was five kids.
Yeah.
So it makes a difference. But so I know somebody, right? They have kids, and with the first 2 kids, the first 2 kids would get disciplined or would get spanking, punished, and stuff. And now, the youngest, nothing ever happens.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I think that's a trend, because I think it was the same with me. I think I got beat 24/7, and everything that my brother and sister did that was wrong was also my fault.
Oh.
And then the youngest just got away with everything.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's something that comes in with just like parenting, and they're like, I think,
So that's one thing that I'll tell you. And probably my daughter can speak more transparently, but in my heart of hearts, they know that I have like these internal, what they call them, dates or deadlines, like timelines. Uh-huh. So you can do this by 3. You can do this by 5. Like you can only get away with certain things at the age of 3. When you get to 5, there's certain things you can't get away with. Yeah. Once you're 7, you're thrown into chores. Like they've seen me do this. Like that's just my model, right? Mm-hmm. And when I'm talking about chores, I'm talking about you can sweep up after yourself kind of thing. So my parenting style is probably a little unconventional. I don't want to talk or speak into other people's parenting style, but I believe that you need to try to be consistent across the board. Why? Right. Because you're actually feeding a monster or a giant, and eventually between sibling rivalry or sibling issues, So if I treat my oldest 19-year-old differently than my 12-year-old or my 7-year-old, then there's going to be a problem. Right. And so honestly, how I combat that is communication. We sit at the couch and I let them tell me, how do you guys think we're doing? And be teachable. Let your kids tell you how they see you. Okay. Let them reveal to you if you are unfair. Yeah. And sometimes they can have an ideal of you being unfair that's not accurate. Yeah. So what do? You provide perspective to a young mind that is struggling to be like, because kids are kids. And they'll be like, well, that's not fair, Mom. You did this and you didn't do that. And I'll be like, well, let me ask you a question. When it was your turn and you had to go through this, how did Mommy respond? Yeah. And they're like, oh, I guess you're not unfair. Because, memory is selective, right? We whether it's an adult or children, they remember what they want. Right. So just talk it out. Yeah. Just make sure you talk it out. Be teachable, be accountable. And if you are doing it, correct it. Right. Kids are so forgiving. They just want you to be honest and not make them feel, I was raised in a generation where children were seen and not heard. Right. They like you saw them, but they couldn't speak. They didn't have an opinion. Yeah. Like sit down when I say. Yeah. And so I didn't want that per se from my kids. Yeah. I need them to be able to tell me if they feel like there's mistreatment. Yeah. Because then how are they going to stick up for themselves outside in the world if they can't even do it at home?
Exactly.
How are they going to vindicate for themselves or say, hey, I want justice, I want equity, right? Because that's in essence what a child is saying. Right. If a child is saying this one is being treated this way and that one isn't, that's called looking for equitable treatment. And if they can't do that at home, they're not doing that in the marketplace. They're not doing it in business. They're not, they're not doing it in the school. Yeah. So just those little things, talk. My kids hate it. I'm like, well, we're not watching TV until you talk. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah, you can't play outside until you talk. So once you talk about it, then we can move on. Right. And so even if they're angry, I let them be angry. Yeah. Don't break up my house. Right. But you can be upset, and then when it calms down, hey, you ready to talk? Right. Because we can't watch the family movie until she's ready to talk, until he's ready to talk. Yeah. Like, that's how I shut it down, because I need you to understand the importance of you working through what's upsetting you, what's frustrating you. So it takes a lot of effort and time.
It's a lot. Yeah, for sure.
You have to be consistent and committed to the process.
100%. I believe it. No, those are all good advice. So I see that your home is secured, right? So from there, you're supporting, you and your husband are supporting a family of 7 total. Yes. So, where do we take it from there, right? So like, what are we doing? I see that you also help out with you're a founder. You're actually the founder of the nonprofit.
Yes.
What's your mission there? Like, what are you trying to do? What are you trying to get accomplished? Mm-hmm. What do you want people to take from it?
So you said something that's important, and I want to kind of speak a little bit into that. As a man, as men, the male, right? Your purpose, one of your purposes is to be a hunter. and a gatherer, one that collects.
Right.
So my husband has that same natural innate instinct. So he is he is a grinder.
Right.
His work ethic is through the roof.
Yep.
That being said, there has to be someone else that comes in and brings balance. I am called balance. So I don't want you to feel bad about that. And so a part of the balance that I'm trying to bring into my home, right, is teaching our kids, okay, financially, when you are able to acquire a certain amount of things, that access, that surplus comes with responsibility. So for every blessing that you have, there's a responsibility that comes with that blessing.
Okay.
So if your family's doing well, you guys are on the up, you guys are, doing okay,
Right.
you need to look back and see where you can give back.
Okay.
So to me, it's a balancing of that. And so with Vivian's Pantry Outreach, it's a nonprofit organization that gives back. And when we started it, we weren't rich or well-to-do. I wouldn't say we're rich now or well-to-do, but the heart and the essence of it was to teach my kids at an early age a culture, a ethic, which is giving back, being able to not be ignorant that other people are not as well as you are. You may not have everything you want. Right. You may not be where you want to be, but you still have a responsibility because you've been given more. So from much whom is given, much is required.
Right.
And so that being said, my little babies, they saw what it was to take canned food and put it inside of little grocery bags and give and feed families in the Waller County, Texas County.
Yep.
And so I say all of that to say that that's how we segue into that. That's the purpose. I really wanted to instill something in them. I wanted to leave them with a legacy that wasn't just consumer.
Right.
Just take from wherever you can,
Right.
grind, make it hustle. Okay, but how are you giving back?
Yeah.
How are you putting back some of what you're getting? How are you paying it forward? And so that's what I wanted them to gain. Now, Vivian's Pantry Outreach, our heart's desire and focus is to feed and evangelize.
Okay.
And so we do that every single year for the past 11 years. This year will be our 11th year, where we have partnered with the Waller Pregnancy Care Center. Okay. And they are a life-affirming Christian pregnancy center that provides pregnant parenting women with options. And they do it through a discipleship pathway, which means that they don't just say, hey, keep your baby, but you figure out how you're going to get diapers, formula, and stuff like that. They actually come around the woman and help her as she is making a life-affirming decision, right? And so I partnered with them because, again, my story is I was a teen mom. I was pregnant at 18.
Yeah.
And I knew what it was to struggle
Right.
And not be able to have groceries. And so what we wanted to do was provide groceries at least on Thanksgiving. A family doesn't have to think about where's the turkey and the sides are going to come from.
That's
so
awesome.
we have been really, really fortunate for the past 11 years to feed like thousands of families. Every year we do at least a minimum 100 families that we feed.
Wow.
And we give them hope. We offer them prayer. We offer, if they want to, if they don't want prayer, they don't have to have that.
Yeah.
We provide Bibles in English and in Spanish, devotionals in English and in Spanish. The Waller County has a very heavy Hispanic, Latino population. Mm-hmm. So, we provide the care for them in a way that's going to be most meaningful. So honestly, it's just to provide hope for them. And so we have actually an event coming up. This year, our Thanksgiving for the family is drive-through, so it's minimize the contact due to the pandemic. They can drive through and pop their trunks and get their turkey placed in there and get their groceries placed inside of their trunk and everything that they want, whether it's prayer, their prayers is done contact-free. Their devotionals, if they want it, it's given through the car. So they never have to come out of the vehicle.
Get out of the car.
Never have to get out the car, and they can get what they need and have an amazing Thanksgiving.
So how can people, help you? What can the public do to just make it even better?
Yeah.
Or is there a donation spot where you guys will be collecting anything like that?
So we are 501c3. And because we are a 501c3, they can give a generous tax deductible gift. Okay. And they can do that through our link that we have that's provided on our Facebook account. Also, the flyer that you're holding in your hand has a QR code.
Yep.
And we are very familiar with QR codes, right?
We are.
So they can scan the QR code, and then right there, it'll immediately take them to our page, our PayPal account, to donate and designate their giving.
Okay.
There. And so to answer your question, you said, how can they help?
Yeah.
They can help by reaching out, donating, volunteering. If they have a business that provides food items and they want to make a donation, so that's one less thing that we have to budget for, would be amazing.
Yeah.
So for like bottles of water, someone who has access to 100+ turkeys, you know, these are the things that they can do to partner with us. We love to give the kids little goodie bags as well.
Yeah.
So if they have children's books that they want to donate that are new, we take those donations because we give them back to the community.
That's awesome. Mm-hmm. Community's big then, right?
Yeah, the community is really big.
I see.
Yeah.
So giving back, you're helping the community. Trying to look at anything else on here that we didn't shout out to. Shout out to Faith City Church.
Yes,
right?
That is my church.
And WTL.
That's the Waller Pregnancy Care Center that we partner with. And so I partner with them. And if I could be 100% transparent, that's just how I like to be. I used to be a client of the Waller Pregnancy Care Center.
Oh, wow.
When I first moved to Houston, I did not have...
Look at that.
Yeah, I didn't have any family here.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't know anybody. And I met one of my mentors, Miss Janet Lamel, who is the founder of this pregnancy center.
Okay.
And she rallied around me, and I told her, hey, I feel like you guys are doing so much to help me and my family. We were struggling financially. I was just on the heels of losing my mom in 2007 and 2008. I'm pregnant with my second child. Wow. No mom to help and no community. And she just embraced me. That community, that pregnancy center embraced me. And so I asked her, I was like, what can I do? You know, like, what can I do to give back? And I said, well, I got a little groceries and I just want to put it so any of the ladies, you know, that need any formula or big jars of baby food, they can go ahead and get some of what I had that's extra. Yeah. And then from there, it just started to evolve and grow and grow and grow. Yeah. And so my prayer has always been, God, if you ever give me finances, I'm going to consistently do this. Right. Because I know what it meant for me. And so that's how it grew. It grew from feeding one family to feeding 12, to feeding 50 families, to feeding 100 families, to feeding 200 families one year.
And look
that's
at
just how it grows.
Yeah, coming back full circle.
Yeah,
you were somebody that benefited from that. Yeah, giving back. It's crazy. That's crazy. That's really good of you to remember. Who helped you out. Yeah, and just come back and volunteer, and then overall, then just feed even more families. Yeah. Let me ask you a question though.
Sure.
So, right. Kind of want to talk about a little bit of mindset. Okay. And I don't want to overstep any kind of boundaries or anything like that. Mm-hmm. So if you knew you were moving to Houston and you knew you were moving to Houston, you knew you didn't have no family, I don't know exactly where you're at, so I don't know the full story. So this is just from what I'm hearing.
Sure.
Did you guys have... How did you guys end up getting pregnant with your second child?
Okay.
Like if you're like in this place where you're like, I can't do this, we shouldn't be doing this, and then was this more of like were you back in your youth? This was before this knowledge. Please.
Okay, so what do you mean as far as how I got pregnant? Because that's the sex conversation that I think we know. Okay.
No. We know how that works.
What are you referring? So let me kind of give you some timeline. Okay. 2006, we moved here. Yep. I did not know my mom was going to pass in 2007. Obviously. Okay. 2008, my husband and I agreed to have our son. Okay. And that's like 6 years gap between our oldest to our second child. I see. And so we couldn't foresee what happened with the job and market. That's right when life hit, boom.
I see.
And the job that we moved here with was taken.
I see.
And so at that time, my husband was the only one who was gainfully employed. And so, do you want me to answer that?
Yes.
It's okay. So in 2008, we didn't foresee what was going to happen with the job market, and the job that my husband had at the time when we moved to Texas was taken. And so as the sole provider at the time, that was a problem. We're in a new state, and your wife is newly, she's pregnant, and now you have to find a way to make it work. And so it was harder for us to make it work in a state where you're foreign. You don't really know anyone, and you can't, go talk to your buddies or a friend and be like, hook me up with something, to get me back on my feet. So I'm grateful for that season because it allowed me to create something beautiful in the midst of crisis and not having enough. I tell people all the time, it's easy if you have all these thousands and thousands of dollars in the bank to create an organization or to even start something. We weren't a 501c3 when we first started. That was never my sight. That was never in my heart. My heart's desire was, this is someone that I feel God sent, a relationship that God sent in my life. And how do I say thank you?
So basically, what I was trying to say with that being said was that...
You were trying to gauge if there was any type of negligence there?
Yes.
Or irresponsibility?
So just so you can kind of explain to those audiences, right? Because there's people that still are out there like no plan, no nothing. They're just like, we're going to have a kid and then we'll try to figure it out. But that wasn't the case with you. The case with you was that it just unexpected things happened. And then, we're still able to, come out of that in a positive way because you guys don't quit.
We don't quit. And here's the thing. If we planned everything and everything in life went as planned, then we wouldn't have crisis. We wouldn't have negative things happen. It's just life. If you are in if you're married and you're in a committed relationship or whatever, and you get pregnant, life happens. But it's a good feeling to know that there are people who think outside of themselves that says, hey, when life happens, don't give in, right? We will go ahead and support you until you get to a place where you can thrive again. And that's what nonprofit organizations do. So you just have to be cognizant of your niche and who you are called to speak to. And so pregnancy centers speak to women who are dealing with planned, unplanned, unwanted, or crisis pregnancies. And so they know that that's their niche. And so I fit one of those criterias, and I was happy to have that resource available to me. Not because of negligence, but because life. Life became, it got unscripted. And when it did, I had someone to help navigate me. That's called humanity. We try to take care of each other. That's what, good souls should try to do, or good people try to do. And I think innately human beings, I think we are humane.
For sure.
For sure. There's a lot of nonprofit organizations doing amazing things.
For sure. Oh, for sure. I think that we don't get as much credit as we get. I think humans get a bad rap. Other people, tend to always, just have kids. They don't even think about like, okay, how am I going to, support them? And, I have these conversations with a lot of different people on, abortions and not aborting, right? And and here in Texas, they made a certain ban on abortions up to a certain date, right? And I see two sides to that, right? And I know that from the morally and religious way, I know that there's that view already. And then I also try to keep an open mind to, this kid shouldn't be brought into, this kind of world. I don't want them, blah, blah, blah. And then that's why some people get abortions. I don't know if that makes it right or not, that's neither here or there of like what I'm here to say, which is right. But man, I went in too much into the abortion part.
It's okay.
So
you can edit it out and
yeah,
we can move to something
it's
else.
totally fine. I don't care.
Okay,
You know,
okay.
I'm open to conversation.
Okay.
And but I don't want to disrespect or offend.
No,
anybody.
you're not going to offend me. I mean, you're here to ask me what I think.
Yes, yes.
So let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Okay, so my stance is this. My mom got pregnant with me through rape at 12 years old.
Yeah.
And she birthed me at 13. Should I not have been here?
I think you should.
And so I think I should too.
Yeah.
And so the reason why I'm so candid is because I've had the privilege of being a pregnancy counselor at a pregnancy center for multiple years. When I could not find gainful employment, the first thing that I did was get with another pregnancy center called the Katie Pregnancy Center, where I got trained as a counselor so that I can sit knee to knee with a woman to encourage and empower her to make a life-affirming decision.
Yeah.
Why? Because I know what it was for my mom to struggle as a teen mom, to see my aunts struggles as teen moms. Yeah. And so is it hard? Yes. Is it doable? Absolutely. Yeah. And it's how you do it. It's the community around you that supports you. I'm not, I don't give license to just doing anything, having a whole bunch of people, a whole bunch of babies and not taking responsibility. That's not what I'm saying.
Right.
But what I do believe is there's a level of, there's the responsibility comes in for those who are on the table, on the side of the table or the side of the discussion that say, hey, don't have an abortion. Okay, so then what do we give and how do we support people who do make a life-affirming decision? Yeah. That's why I have Vivian's Pantry Outreach.
I see.
That's why we have pregnancy care centers. Yeah. That's why we have nonprofit organizations that do rally around women that do make a life-affirming decision. Now, I also say this. I have the privilege of being a mentor and being a sister, right? In arms with women through my Women's Empowerment, Truth and Love Empowers, that speak to me about the pain of making the decision to have an abortion. Right. There's still hope for that woman. Right. I am not of the heart or the mindset to condemn anyone that does have an abortion, but it's painful. Right. And until you're able to sit in a counseling room when there's no pressure from family, there's no pressure from the significant other, and that woman has to sit with that decision. Yeah. Until you've experienced how that decision has impacted her and how it will forever impact her, then I think that it's futile to have that conversation, not knowing that side of the spectrum. You have to have an inside glance at what abortion really does. Right. And it's not just coming from a Christian standpoint, right? There are studies and a lot of people that do speak about the psychological condition and the different levels of depression and the backlash of that decision. I'm not an expert. I'm not here to say I'm an expert. I just know, and why I was so provocative in saying, should I not have been here? Because a lot of people that do make a pro-choice argument say that, well, in the case of rape or incest, that woman should have a choice. You're right. I thank God my mom did make a life-affirming choice for me because I'm able to do many impactful things for women who are pregnant and parenting. Yeah. Am I the norm? No. Am I the standard? Absolutely not. Right. But I do believe that you should be able to make a decision that's not just going to impact you for today, but make a well-informed decision so that you understand how it will affect you tomorrow. Right. Right? And so that's what pregnancy centers do, whether it's the Waller Pregnancy Care Center or Katie Christian or other pregnancy centers. What they're doing is providing you options. Right. And it's speaking the truth, telling you hey, if you do this, this is what's going to happen. If you don't do that, then this is what's going to happen. Yeah. And if you choose to, do this is how we can support you.
So you guys do help out and kind of paint a clearer picture for somebody that's, debating on whether they should or not.
Absolutely.
I completely just remembered how this even started.
Okay.
We're talking about responsibility.
Yes.
Right. And here in Texas, we passed that abortion law where, after 6 weeks, you can't do it anymore. And I see that there's been, a lot of praise, but then I've seen a lot of hate and calling people probably racist for it, which makes no sense.
Right. Okay.
And so, and that exists too. But what I don't see is, where does responsibility play a part in all this, right? Because if you just if something just happened to you, right? You just got raped or something. I can't imagine what anybody, that gets raped goes through. So I'm not going to even pretend to even know the psychological mental state that you're in at that point.
Yeah.
But if you've been raped and you feel that you might be pregnant, you should probably take care of that, the day after or the week of or something, get checked, And then also, if you're also, out partying and you have a great night or whatever, you still have a responsibility to like, hey, well, a pregnancy can come out of this. Maybe I should do something now, right? Instead of like, oh, well, it's past 6 weeks and I need to get an abortion or, because you're right. Your life that made a complete impact on this earth, because it does ripple and people don't see that.
Right.
So I'm glad that you were able to share that a little bit.
Yeah, and I don't shy away from the conversation of responsibility, because it's as easy as we can say, well, they should have the option to have an abortion. They should have the option as well to say, hey, I'm going to exercise self-control.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we can't, if we're going to talk about options, let's talk about all of our options. Yeah. Being responsible doesn't constitute of taking a life of an unborn fetus. It starts with, hey, if you choose to have sex, right? Yeah. Wear protection.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, I'm not condoning sex. I'm not condoning abortion. I'm not condoning any of these things, but responsibility is not just one-sided.
Right.
And so, when people are on one side, I don't have a problem on either side of the table. I think that a child is a child.
Yeah.
No matter whether it's 2 weeks, 6 weeks, it's a child.
Yeah.
And there's consequences that happen before the pregnancy, right?
Yeah.
The pregnancy is just a result of sexual intercourse.
Right.
But there's a whole circle, or there's a whole encasement of responsibility from either partying or being irresponsible or negligent or whatever, you were sharing.
Yeah.
So I don't think that we should just highlight just the pregnancy.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, that shouldn't be the thing that everyone is magnifying.
Right.
Let's talk about the problem of lasciviousness.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, being promiscuous. Like, that's the whole thing.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Why is that not being talked about? Why are we not,
Because people don't want to take responsibility.
Yeah.
So
you're talking about the after one, but we're not talking about the STDs.
Exactly.
So everyone that has sex doesn't get pregnant.
Right.
Everyone that has sex doesn't get STDs.
Right.
But at the end of the day, we've turned the volume down on self-control.
Yep.
We've turned the volume down on STDs and sexually transmitted diseases and infections.
Right.
Why are we turning the volume down on that? That's still a problem. And it costs taxpayers a lot of money.
Right.
So let's talk about that.
Exactly.
If you're going to turn up this volume on, pregnancies, let's turn on the volume on this so that way it can be a mutually balanced conversation.
Right.
That's my thought.
That's awesome. I appreciate it. And I feel right there with you. I think I'm very big on awareness and responsibility.
Yeah.
So, any excuse or that you're trying to get somebody else involved, like government, to like stop or something, I think all that's overreach by anything on whether, so let me kind of clarify what I'm saying before I just start saying something on a rant. So I think there's a lot of overreach.
Okay.
Either way, right?
Okay.
Like the government saying like you can't do something, okay.
Yeah.
But then also the person, saying like, well, I can abort at any time. I think that we need to step in at a certain point because, it is a life, and look at you, right? Like that's just you're just a great example, right? So, I think there's overreach both ways. But yeah, I don't think that, if you're going to be, like just getting abortions, then should it be government funded, right? I don't know.
That's a whole conversation. Listen, I want to go ahead and put this out there. I have a passion for the woman that makes a life affirming decision.
Right.
And I'm looking at the camera because I need you to hear this. And I have a heart for the woman that says, hey, sis, I didn't have a place to turn. And I just needed to get rid of this. It was a bad situation I found myself in. Either woman, I love you and I really do care about your total wholeness. And so my advice to you is to make sure that you do get connected so that you can get counseling, that you can be around people who love you and that can help you get this and this together, because there's hope after pregnancy, whether it's crisis or consensual, or after having an abortion.
So let me play a devil's advocate a little bit here.
Okay.
When is it okay to, because I want to segment into your empowerment group.
Sure.
Right? And I'm sure that you have these conversations with people in these situations.
Yes.
When is it okay to have an abortion?
I don't believe there's any time to have an abortion.
Okay.
It's like saying, when should my mom had made a decision to abort me? Should she abort me at 2 weeks? Should she abort me at 6 weeks? I want to live.
Right.
But I can't speak for myself. When you're a baby and a fetus, you can't advocate for yourself. So I'm happy that I'm alive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
so what about, all these third party people that have opinions and don't have kids that say, yeah, but they're going to grow up into the system and the system is a horrible place.
What do you mean grow up in the system?
Well, this is the feedback that I get from people on the opposing side. It's like, yeah, well, so you want them to grow up in the system, right? And it's like,
someone would have to really do a good job of explaining to me why that would constitute them growing in the system, and what does that mean? What does that constitute as? So
they usually will use like suicidal criminals, come out badly, mentally.
Why would they come out this way so that I can gain understanding?
That's what I'm trying to understand as well. Right? So like,
okay.
I've had conversations with people that I personally know, kick back, hang out, and obviously I love conversations. Yeah. So, and
this is good, by the way, just so you can know. Okay.
Thank you. I'm open to it all.
Yeah.
Me and Rhonda, my wife, we have our child and stuff, and then we have some friends that don't want kids. And then we're like, you can adopt. They're considering adopting. They're considering adopting, but they're also very pro, like, you can abort because, these kids that grow up in the system, like, we're going to do somebody, a solid and, and adopt some, one child. And then for some reason, growing up in the system is such a negative thing that it's like worse than life itself.
Yeah.
The opportunity of this person having a life, for some reason, the opinion of another person that thinks that, hey, they're going to grow up a horrible life matters more than that life, even being born.
Got you.
So, I'm sure you come across people that think like that.
Absolutely. And I think that it's commendable, first and foremost, that they want to adopt. There are many children that want to adopt. Now, let's take on the mindset that if we respond with permanent solutions, right?
Yep.
It's permanent. Yep. You can't retract that. And so an abortion is permanent. Right? You can't take that back. Once a fetus has been terminated, once a baby has, the life has been taken from a baby, that's it. There's no, and I don't know if anyone's ever watched a DNC or an abortion procedure. Most people don't watch it, right? Because it's easier just to say the word but not see what's happening to a woman's body.
Yeah.
And I would encourage someone, that before you say where you stand, do your research.
Yeah.
Do your research.
Or look at, meat grinders when they're grinding up your cows.
Oh my gosh.
Same thing, right? We don't watch
it. So, not digressing, but staying on the topic. For the couple that said that, hey, they want to adopt, right? What child would have the opportunity to adopt if that parent chose abortion? What about the woman and the husband that can't conceive?
Yeah.
So if everyone either had their babies or aborted them,
well,
then how would, you know what I mean? Like how would people who couldn't have children have an option I think adoption is a very viable option. I think that the ability to have life and give someone a gift that their bodies may naturally not be able to have is a gift.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it's legitimately a gift. So I don't think that we should respond to crisis by making permanent solutions, making permanent decisions. I think that's not the best way to deal with crisis or problems. We wouldn't apply that antidote to anything else. Right.
Except for vaccines.
That's a different conversation for another day. You're not going to throw me off. But I mean, do you see what I'm saying? So even if it's business or if it's personal, if it's family, if it's a relationship, whatever it is, we're not going to say in the middle of crisis, let's go ahead and make a permanent decision. Right? We're going to look at the best option to allow us to thrive in that moment of crisis. Not to look back and be like, oh man, well, that's done. No, you know what I mean? Like it's too permanent. I mean, and I talk to my daughter about this all the time, you know, and I say, and it's crazy. I don't believe that death of any kind. Like I'm anti, and that's probably another tangent, but I'm very anti death row. It's too permanent.
Yeah, it is.
You know what I mean? Like, and then more and more we're finding, right, to digress for a short second, that a lot of people are not even guilty that's on death row. So why are we giving permanent, permanent resolutions or solutions to things that we're human and we make mistakes and there's flaws in the system and there's flaws in a lot of different things. But to go back to the abortion conversation, I don't know if it's still in Texas, but just period across the board. That's just how I feel. I'm a person that I don't like killing a baby or human being.
What are the chances of you being born? Like the chances of, getting to the egg. Can you Google that?
That's like so, and that's the thing, right? You just hit the nail on the head with even asking that question.
Yeah.
So it takes so much just for life to be formed in the womb. Mm-hmm. It takes, and when he tells you the number, you'll be surprised how many millions of, these sperms try to reach the promised land per se, and they don't make it. Yeah. And so the one that does make it, I feel like it's a gift of God, to be honest with you.
And side note, me and my wife were having this conversation yesterday. You carried the child, right? You birthed the child, but in reality, your husband was carrying the child first.
Ruben, are we doing this? Are we doing this? Oh Lord! So no, sweetheart. I gotta check it right there. Not at all. So
40 million to 1.2 billion.
Wow.
And then, but all that, almost at the end, then you got about 200 that are fighting in there, and then.
So you said, let me repeat that again. You said the chances of you being born is 40 million to what?
From 40 million to 1.2 billion.
40 million.
The average
sperm
ejaculation, and by the time it reaches to.
Then you're fighting another 200.
It reaches to the egg. It's about 200.
Wow, so about 200 are fighting to get into the egg.
But before that, in the billions.
In the billions. So from billions to hundreds to get that, to reach the promised land, right?
Like you're a winner.
You are lottery winner, right?
You are a winner.
Yeah.
I think the chances of winning the lottery are a little bit higher than you actually being born.
Wow.
So,
and then not only that, I mean, just having the egg and the ovulation happening and all of that, and you being able to conceive and be pregnant, carrying the baby to life, and full term, that's a whole nother gift itself. It's a whole nother journey itself, so that conversation is fully in depth there. But as far as the man carrying the baby, sir, I'm going to let your wife check you on that. And so when she was carrying, you weren't carrying.
I think she just shrugged it off and was like,
she's like,
even touching that.
You've been married long enough where she could be like, look, he's just having one of his moments.
Yeah. I do play devil's advocate a lot. And I think it's very good to keep ourselves in check, right? Because she'll have like a strong point on something, and then even if I agree with her, I just want to see, all right, let me see your stance. Is it just somebody that told you this and you're just following along, or do you actually know? So like, I'll give anybody an example right now. Can you explain what gravity is?
It's like me trying to explain what air is.
Exactly. Like we were just told, and that's it. We're like, that's how it is. So I can't explain what it is. I believe in gravity. I just can't explain what it is. And then if somebody that was like, let's say a flat earther or something, and was like, Ruben, the reason things fall is because we're on a flat surface and things fall. And I'm just like, no, man, it's because of gravity.
Right.
I don't even feel strong in my stance because I can't
because you can't explain it. But here's the thing. It's the same thing with any, whether it's air that we were talking about or even conception. Just because why do you believe? You said you believe in gravity, but you didn't say why. You believe in it because there's evidence, right? There's evidence. So if you drop something on the floor, gravity is the evidence that it fell.
That's because we were told that, right? But what if somebody's sitting here and they're like a flat earther and they're like, yeah, it's falling down because we're on a flat surface.
Okay.
Right? He would make more sense than I do, because I'm like, look, man, faith. All right, it's falling down, right? I can't see it, but I believe it.
Okay.
And this guy is like, no, man, look, it's just flat and things are falling down.
Okay.
I'm not saying the guy's correct. I'm just saying, I think that's how I check myself.
Yeah.
When it comes to.
So you want to be able to support why you believe what you believe.
Exactly.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
All right.
So I do that I test my wife all the time.
Yeah.
Even
and
when it
that's
comes
okay.
to abortion.
Yeah. So for me, I believe what I believe because of my story, right?
Yeah.
I believe what I believe to the point where I'm able to put feet to my personal faith, and also the faith in what I feel like in humanity, the faith that I believe that women who are experiencing unwanted, unplanned pregnancy can find hope.
Yeah.
I'm a teen mom, I was fortunate for my husband to start a family, but that may not be the case. So I sympathize with women all day long, whether she's a single mom or a married woman who does make a choice for an abortion, because that happens as well.
Right.
So at the end of the day, wherever a woman finds herself, I can sympathize with her. Yeah.
So you're empowered, I see, right? So you do this you have these conversations with other women as well. You mentioned you're a counselor, and you're also, so tell me a little bit more about your empowerment group.
Okay.
How is this organized? Is this like something that you join weekly? You have weekly sessions, private one-on-ones.
Okay.
What are you doing?
Okay, so thank you. So Truth and Love Empowers. Truth and Love Empowers is a organization that I created to help empower women. Our mantra is, our credo, they would say, is creating empowered women who create communities of other empowered women. Okay, so whatever you're receiving from the community, it is with responsibility that you pour it into your sphere of influence, so that you can empower another group of women. And why is that important? It's because if you receive, I think, like I said, with my nonprofit, you should be able to pay it forward.
Yeah.
Any addition comes with, for me, in my perspective, it comes with responsibility. And so how do we do that, right? How do we create empowered women? And then how do we have these empowered women in turn create empowered other communities of empowered women? So the way that we do that, you can kind of say it's like a table. Here is empowerment at the top of the table, and then it has 4 legs, just like the table that we're sitting right now. And so we do, one leg is prayer, the other leg is fellowship, which is community, and then another leg is outreach, and then another leg is mentorship. So those 4 legs is what holds up having a woman become more empowered, so she can be empowering. Yeah.
So do you think that, these women, how does a woman in that group, feel empowered by having this support from you guys? What kind of mental state are they in first to even recognize that, like, hey man, I actually need help? So, can you just touch on a little bit of like, who's actually reaching out to you, or like,
I love it.
Who are you helping? That, like, what are they asking for that you're coming in and fulfilling?
I love that question. You're speaking my heartbeat. So who am I called to? Who's my audience? I Lovely Metellus, I'm called to the woman that desires spiritual growth and accountability in a Christian community, in a Christ-centered community. I know exactly who I'm called to, and I know the exact type of woman that is attracted to what Truth and Love Empowers is. She is not someone that she could be in crisis. She does not need to be in crisis. She is a diverse, it's women, it's called to women of diverse backgrounds. You don't have to be a Christian. You can, I just let you know what our principles are that we're going to illuminate and, flow from, where we're going to come from. So that particular woman, she could be a leader in leadership. She could be, leading at home. She could be leading in the boardroom. So she can be the best servant. She can be the person that is cleaning, in the hotels. Or she is the everyday woman from diverse backgrounds that literally says, hey, I desire spiritual growth, but I need two things to help me get there. And that is community of women that are like-minded and accountability. Yeah. And if I have those two anchors, then I'm able to go ahead and move forward in my goal of spiritual growth.
Okay. Nice. Do you see a lot of success in other people that you help?
Well, success, I would qualify it by how do I quantify or qualify better saying success? Success is the women coming in and being engaged in our 4 pillars, our 4 legs of what helps her become empowered, spiritually empowered. And in her doing that and turning around and walking in her assignment, her purpose that she was placed here. It doesn't have to be ministry. Right. It can be marketplace. When I say marketplace, it means that if she comes in and she says, you know what, I feel like I have one of my ladies who is that wants to be a nurse practitioner. Well, we're going to go ahead and come alongside you. And we're going to empower you to have the mental and the spiritual wherewithal and give you the support that you need. You're going to have a rally of women that are going to say, hey, how's class going? How is it doing? We are a sisterhood. We're a community that want to see you finish and get that degree. Why? Because we know that you being in that position, you're going to pay it forward to another young lady that needs that support. Yeah. I think we've lost, unfortunately, in our society, the ability to understand the significance of community. No one is an island, and we don't arrive to any place of meaning and of substance by ourselves. There is a group, there's so many people that have poured into my life, and I think that we should do the same. Yeah. So touching on that a little bit, who did guide you to here? Because I see that I see that you're structured, and I see that you got it all going on. I had a mentor before. Is there a mentor, somebody that you kind of you can look up to, or was this just all trial and error? It's both, right? Life is trial and error. Always. We're always growing and evolving. Correct. I think one of the things that has helped me is, of course, my faith. I am a Christian woman, and I believe in Jesus Christ. So my faith has grounded me a lot. Yeah. And I'm unapologetic about that. But also the people that I feel like has been brought into my path throughout my years, my little time here on the earth. One gift that I have innately is being a teacher, being teachable, and being a learner. I'm a forever learner. I love learning, and I love gleaning wisdom where wisdom can be found, because you can't find wisdom everywhere. But where I see and I discern, I glean from that. And so because of that, I really do tell people, you said that I have it all going on. Honey, I got flaws. Oh. I do. And I'm working on it. I'm working on this tardiness, this lateness flaw, right? Good. So let me bring some humanity back in the conversation. If I can be 100% transparent. Right. I shared a little bit of my story. How does a 13-year-old girl get to the place where, a mom who decides to give birth to at the age of 13, and myself being a teenage mom at the age of 18, how do I get to this place? Of course, it's not by osmosis, right? It's by a lot of people making intentional efforts that these intentional efforts yielded lifelong impacts. Yeah. They made literally indentations in who I am. Yeah. they really made an indelible mark. And so whether it's some pastors, whether it's some leaders, whether it's school teachers, whether it's women that I've met along the way and I've gleaned from their stories, all of it, I take all of the good.
Yeah.
I thank God that I'm not the person that has to touch the fire so that I can get the lesson. Mm-hmm. I will look at your scars and let you tell me about your scars so that I don't have them scars.
Yeah.
And I think,
listener.
yeah, so it's good to be teachable.
Yeah.
Being teachable has been the biggest thing that has really helped me. Another thing is honor.
Yeah.
I honor the relationships that poured into me. I honor those. And how do I honor them? Vivian's Pantry Outreach is my mother's first name, Vivian.
Oh, okay.
So just in case if I didn't say that. So I honor her every time I say that.
Yeah.
I honor my mentors. I am accountable to God. I'm accountable to my husband. I'm accountable to my 5 children.
Yeah.
I'm accountable to the women that I serve.
Yeah.
I am,
right.
And so by doing so, when you honor, that means that, hey, I am required to give back what these people have invested.
Yeah.
And so my current pillar, what I call my quad, that has poured into me a lot, of course, is my husband, mm-hmm. Charles. And then it's also been my spiritual father. His name is Apostle Sean D. Mears. And my mentor, my preceptor, Pastor and Dr. Phineas of Faith City Church. And my mentor is also Janet Lamel. These 4 people mentor me. They'll sit me down. They'll reproof me. They can correct me. They can challenge me.
Nice.
And all 4 of them have. I don't have weak mentors. I have people that can tell me, hey, we will expect more from you.
Right.
Now produce.
Accountability
is everything. And that's why I modeled Truth and Love Empowers by it. If you don't have, you can have a great idea. You can be a dreamer all you want. But if you're not accountable, and you're not accountable not just to a faith, but also accountable to a community of people that are going to call you to the carpet mm-hmm. when you're falling shy, then it's hard for you to be successful.
True.
Yeah.
True. You said you were talking about, you can believe all you want, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a lot of people out there that also believe in the secret to a certain extent, right? To where, and I'll tell you a little bit of a story mm-hmm. so you can kind of see where I'm coming from.
Okay.
So I had a friend, still a friend. Hi. And, they're doing their day job, mm-hmm. they have very high dreams, right? Mm-hmm. So we're driving. So we watched this, and there's a famous book called The Secret.
Okay.
Right. And this book basically says that if you believe in something so much, whatever your heart desires, all you have to do is sit on it, pray on it, and you will get it, right? Like,
is that The Secret?
That's The Secret.
Okay.
And it's been the secret's been passed down from like old presidents when the country first started, and then it was supposedly passed down to everybody. And basically they stopped like they're trying to stop you from believing in what you want to get and believing in it extremely hard. What that doesn't talk about is that, like, okay, you might have a vision. Mm-hmm. But if you don't see yourself now in mm-hmm. that position and what that person's doing to get there, reverse engineer how you got there, mm-hmm. you're not going to get there, mm-hmm. right? You're just wishing for it. So a good example of it was my friend. So after we read the book and watched the movie, mm-hmm. then, we were just driving and there was a skyscraper. He's like, Ruben, I'm going to own that one day. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay. You're going to own that one day. Okay, great. So you would think that somebody says, hey, I'm going to own the skyscraper one day. Mm-hmm. You would just have just action after action after action. Mm-hmm. And instead of excuses, and excuses, right? And not do anything.
Okay.
So there's a lot of people, with the secret is. So with that being said, when you do empower these women, mm-hmm. right, is it more of just a spiritual, like, hey, listen, find your time and peace, have your conversation with God? Or is it do you guys have a strategic plan of like, mm-hmm. hey, look, okay, this is how you feel at these moments, mm-hmm. but, you should probably start taking these classes, mm-hmm. You should probably maybe look after your health.
Mm-hmm.
What exactly are we doing to empower these people other than just, like, hey,
Yeah.
I know exactly where you're at. I've been there too.
Yeah.
Keep going.
So mentorship is that application part.
Okay.
My faith tells me that faith without works is dead. There's a level of work that is required.
Yeah.
My faith also tells me, meaning my faith comes from the Bible, right?
Yeah.
It says that see a man who is diligent in his ways.
Yeah.
He shall not stand before mere men, but he shall stand before kings, meaning those who have great authority and power, right? Those who are the decision makers of the day.
Yeah.
So diligence is important. Work is important.
Yeah.
So one thing that we do teach in our Iron Sharpen Iron meetings, which is pretty much where we come together and we meet on a monthly basis and we talk about where we're at, what are we leading, what are we doing, what our heart's desires are, what are your plans, and then we bring practical application to that and accountability. So again, back to the vision. The vision is you desire spiritual growth, but you want that spiritual growth to happen in a community that's going to help you remain accountable. So that being said, in addition to that is mentorship. That's one of the 4 pillars of what we stand for. And mentorship says that, hey, you and I can meet on a one-on-one. We can meet as a group, but you're going to tell us what your goals are. And you will accomplish that goal. Yeah. Why? Because you've given me permission. When you give me permission, when you give the community, when you give us permission to be your accountability partner, what you're saying is I'm serious about growth. Yeah. Not just spiritual, but all around growth. So like I was sharing that story with my friend that is she's getting her nursing, her nurse practitioner license, right? Yeah. And I told her, I said, listen, there is no option. Yeah. That's the vision and that's the goal you're going to accomplish. Yeah. And I'm not bullying or pushing them in a way that I haven't been pushed. Yeah. As a mom of 5, the only way that I've been able to succeed in the different areas that I tell you that I do is because I've had people push me. I've had people that literally, when I feel like I am crumbling and I'm overwhelmed with responsibility, have literally said, no, there's more in you. Yeah. Pause for the cause, regroup, and get back on track, and get it done. So that's exactly what we do. That mentorship piece is very, very important. Yeah. And that's where the work happens. But why do we have the 4 pillars? It's all intentional, right? I believe that you pray about what your goals are so that you have realistic goals for your capacity. Correct. And it also provides you the instruction of what you may need to do so that you can get that, because we don't know all things, right? And then the community comes in and their intelligence and their affluence and what they know helps you know what you don't know, right? So you can only grow to the degree or the measure of the people in your community. Exactly. If we're all ignorant people in a room, excuse my language, then therefore how far can I go? Yeah. So there are women who are business owners. There are people in the business that are in the nonprofit sector that are engineers that are, that they're doing and they're thriving. Yeah. So they can tell, they can teach, they can train, they can tell you how they made it. Yeah. Right. And then the latter part is, hey, how do we keep you accountable? Yeah. Let's create an action plan with action steps that you can do so that you can achieve your goals. Yeah. And then now that you have reached your place, go empower.
Boom.
That's it.
There's a famous business coach that said, show me who your 5 friends and I'll tell you who you are. Yeah. And the reason that you're the way that you are is because you're hanging out with nothing but bums.
I don't think he used that word, but I got it.
He did. I believe he did.
Yeah.
Yeah, he even threw an F-bomb in there somewhere. I was like, okay. Yeah. But it's truth, though. It's still, it's still true. Yeah. So, Lovely, we're here, and we touched a little bit about, where you were at when you had your second child, mm-hmm. But who are you, right? Like,
oh, wow, yeah.
Where do you come from? What's your background?
Okay.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, so my name is Lovely Metellus. I was born in Miami, Florida. Oh. And I was raised throughout the East Coast. Okay, let's talk about Miami, New York, New Jersey. That's where I frequented. Like, I feel like I was a superstar. Okay. I moved around so much between Miami, New York, and...
is that because your parents moved around for work, or...
I was the daughter of a 13-year-old mom, remember?
That's right.
Yeah.
So she had to move around?
So I lived with a lot of family members. Yeah, I did. Yeah. I did live with a lot of family. And by grace, I'm okay today, right?
Yeah.
But so I did move around a lot, and in doing so, I was able to glean a lot. So, sometimes I'll even joke with you and I say, hey, I'm not a Southern Belle. Yeah. My grit is different being raised from the East Coast, right. So that being said, I'm also Haitian American. I'm a proud Haitian American woman. Yeah. And so that's my culture. And now, I don't know.
So you went to high school,
yeah,
right?
I went to high school in Miami.
Okay.
Yes,
yeah.
I went to middle school in New York.
Oh, wow.
Partly. I went to middle school in Miami partly as well.
Yeah.
But high school was all Florida. I went to school in Pembroke Pines, Florida. Yeah. And I did all my college here in Houston.
So you moved here to do college. And then is this where you met your husband, or?
Oh, no. I met my husband in church.
At church? Okay.
Yes.
Here in Houston?
No, in Florida, back in Miami. My husband is born, bred, and raised in Miami, Florida. Miami? Yeah. And so I met him at church.
Okay.
And I wasn't even interested in him. No, not at all. I was like, ew. I was like, you're not even my type, sir.
Charles.
But that's another podcast for another day. Like a lot of times we have a type.
Yeah.
And God knows what to give you.
Exactly.
For where you're headed.
Right.
And I'll just put this plug in. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're looking for a mate, do not marry potential. Marry according to your purpose. That means that you have to live with you long enough to know where you're headed in life so that you can make a choice for a partner that's going to help you get there. Okay.
So that's a great plug, and I think that's good advice too. Yeah. People change though, right? So after 20 years, you're about to hit that mark.
What mark?
You guys,
don't speak nothing on me.
No, y'all been married 19 years?
19.
19
yeah.
Oh, okay.
What's the mark? You talking about the life crisis?
No, that you guys.
I was like, I'm not having a life crisis.
No, you're not. Absolutely not, for sure.
Yeah.
But you're about to almost hit 20 years of marriage.
Yes.
Right. Mm-hmm. So I know people change, right? Mm-hmm. So marriages end up 50% in divorce almost, right? I think it might be a little bit higher now. Mm-hmm. But I think that with social media and everything, and just everything being so social, I think that, relationships don't last as long because there's always now options, always are out there. And luckily I found my one, right? So we haven't been married for 20 years, but I know that after 20 years people change, right? Like
absolutely.
At the beginning, I'm sure that you guys didn't, you when you guys started, you didn't have all this,
of course not, right?
Endeavors that you have,
right? So
has it just been kind of just a growing together kind of thing, or is it you guys are still on the same page? Yeah. What do you think that's been a success so far? Almost 20 years.
So let me share this with you. I agree. People do change. It's how you change.
Yeah.
That's important. Are you changing for the good or for the worse? Are you growing? Are you evolving?
Yeah.
I believe the best part of doing life with someone is both parties having a commitment to evolve.
Yeah.
To continually grow and to do it together.
Right.
If one person does it and neither one doesn't, then it's lopsided, right? Then it becomes a problem. But that needs to be a conversation that you have going in.
Yeah.
And I think one thing that has helped me and my husband is that we were very frank about where we were wanting to be in life.
Yeah.
And although we were young, it's amazing how much we talked about. I mean, from child rearing to where do you see yourself? What is it that you want? What are your goals?
Right.
And I say this, I cannot stress, do not marry potential. Remember how they told you to marry, if he has a good personality or she has a good personality, marry, personalities change.
Yeah.
Oh man, if they have potential, that's it. Don't marry for looks, marry for potential. Well, what happens if potential is untapped and that potential is never reached? Then now your expectation of that person reaching their potential is never actualized.
Right.
Then that's a problem. But if you marry for purpose and you start aligning yourself with the person that complements your purpose, then it's a better chance that, hey, you know what, you guys got a fair shot.
Yeah.
And so for what helped us is purpose.
Yeah.
I didn't know that word. Can I be honest with you?
Yeah.
When I was 18, I didn't know, I'm marrying for purpose. I was
Right.
just like, I want to do this when I grow up, and you want to do this. Okay, that works.
Yeah.
And so every year that we stay together, the longer that we stay together, you start actualizing that purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And I grow into my purpose, right? You don't
Right.
just osmosis, purpose falls on you and then you have capacity to maintain it.
Right.
You grow into it. So
Right.
as I was growing into it and he was growing into his, it worked.
Yeah.
It's a lot of acquiescing, giving and taking. And I would be remiss if I didn't tell you that my faith didn't have everything
Yeah.
to do with my marriage being successful.
Yeah.
And the reason why I say that way with a lot of emphasis is because you have to have something that you're answerable to outside of you. Who does he respond to? Who is he accountable to?
Yeah.
That's not you.
Yeah.
When he doesn't want to listen to you. Who is she responsible to and accountable to when she no longer wants to hear the sound of your voice? That's important, that you guys both know who you're accountable to. And for us, it was our Christian faith.
That's interesting. But I like how you use the Christian faith, because then, somebody is superior to your own thoughts.
Absolutely.
But what about, again, playing devil's advocate here?
Sure.
What about atheists?
What
right?
about them?
People that don't, they're in happy
Yeah.
relationships. I actually know a couple atheists that,
Mm-hmm.
that they love their wife,
Mm-hmm.
and their wife is it's not even Christian, but another
Mm-hmm.
religion,
Mm-hmm.
and they're totally fine.
Yeah.
And I think that they will die together, to be honest.
Okay.
So I feel that there's another anchor there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, like, with me, my anchor is more of like reason. Like, I don't care if you're mad, or if you're if you're mad at me, or if like you answer, like, okay, once he doesn't want to hear my voice, who else does he answer to?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's I think God could be a voice of reason too.
Mm-hmm.
So the way that I see it is more of like, okay, well, Rhonda is either wrong or right on, her decision to be mad at me for this reason.
Mm-hmm.
Does she have the reason, and then if she goes off on a tantrum or whatever, and she has no reason, then that's where I kind of draw that line, right? So
Okay.
you got to have that reason. Same thing for me,
Mm-hmm.
right? I'll get mad for stupid crap sometimes. I think we're just humans.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be that I got mad that she got mad or something. I think that's always the case. I'm usually a pretty happy person. But, I always check myself, like, okay, is my reasoning right? Like,
Okay.
so I do check myself. And I think that religion can be used also in a sense of like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
you're seeing it from a sense of like, God,
Mm-hmm.
Jesus Christ is my source of reason.
Mm-hmm.
And, so just to, again, play devil's advocate.
I think that's fine. And I think that your question is fair. And the reason why I say that is because the question that you asked me was very specific. It says, what was your anchor?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So mine
Yeah,
is
yeah,
my
yeah.
Christian faith,
Correct.
believing in the Lord, and the Bible as the finality of what I'm answerable to and what he's answerable to. That's what we joined together,
Right.
saying that, hey, we're going to submit under God's authority for our marriage.
Yes.
Now, what speaks to other people's union,
different.
I can't
Right.
even begin to.
Yeah. I mean, it can be, it can be any other religion, it could be music. It could be, I know people find themselves in concerts and they're like fall in love and stuff like that. That wasn't me, but
Listen, to each his own. But if you talk about what's been the anchor for my success, and what's gotten me through for going on 20 years, June 2022 will be 20 years.
Ah, congrats.
So I mean, I can tell you what works for me. I can't tell you what works for someone else.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But I think the main focus there, though, is that you are grounded by that.
Yeah.
So it's all about some kind of having some kind of reason, like I said earlier.
And my faith grounds everything. Anything that you see, whether it's Vivian's Pantry Outreach, Truth and Love Empowers, All Care Christian Ministry, which that I have, and anything that I put my hands to.
Yeah.
I come from a place of, God, how does this how does this bring you glory? How does this, how does this impact my children? How does this, how does this leave a positive mark on the world? So that's my anchor.
Right.
Right.
No, and it's good. It's working for you.
Yeah.
I don't think that you're going to be changing anything anytime soon. So.
I hope I don't change anything, because for me, I believe eternity is impacted if I change anything. So there will be no changing by grace. Yeah.
No, yeah, for sure. I want to talk about a little bit of what you got going on coming up soon.
Yes.
I see that you brought a book. Wanted to ask you about that.
Yes,
book.
I did. So I know that at some point we probably will talk about mentorship, and this is my mentor's book. It's called Becoming the Best You. And I know in conversations you and I have talked, and you're like, where do you get some of these words or these phrases that you say? And so I get it from my mentor. His name is Pastor. He's Dr. Phineas Kenithia.
Okay.
And this book has been such a good anchor in giving me insight and perspective to just different. Just to gain wisdom. I always, like I said earlier, I gain wisdom.
So we're going to talk about, I'm sorry guys, we're going to be back here, but you were telling me about your, the book, and you were telling me about the words that I asked you sometimes, like, where do you get that from? And you were mentioning your book.
Yeah. So this is not my book. This is my mentor's book. His name is Dr. Phineas Kenithia. And so some of the things that he talks about, everything in this book actually has been some of the models and creeds that I've also embraced as far as the wisdom that I use, right? In my everyday living, in how I execute my mother, my parenting, how I, am a wife, in just different areas of life. I have been able to apply all of the different things that he puts in this book. And so whether it's discovering your core, knowing your purpose, whether it's habitual attitude adjustments and how important that is for you to have a successful life, or at least a healthy, emotionally healthy quality of life, right? How to think differently, embrace change as your ally, because you talked about that even with the marriage situation. One of the successes in our relationship is knowing that, hey, I'm not 18 anymore. When we first got married, you do consistently evolve. Right. So that has been helpful. Honor, which is my master key that I share with you, that has been a part in a tandem, in addition to me being teachable, as far as how I got where I am today. And then strive to connect effectively. Remember, we talked about how important communication is for me. Cultivate authentic relationships is pivotal in what I do with women, what I do with my nonprofit organization, what I do across the board.
And with real estate.
Which we're going to touch on as well. And then cultivating authentic relationships, followership. And then what I love is the practical. Remember, we talked about, how do you actually empower these women? Well, there's practice to simple disciplines. You can bring application to disciplines. And so a lot of the things that are in this book have really, really helped me a lot. Okay. And so I would encourage you to read this.
All right. Where are those sold?
This is sold on Amazon. Okay. So you can definitely go on Amazon and grab a copy, or you can always come to my church and grab a copy as well.
Okay. Or you can leave me that copy right here.
Yeah. I will bring you a copy. What I won't do, you see this? This is red. This is mine. This is my copy. But I will bring you a copy.
When I first saw it, I was like, that book's not for me.
No, it's not. I apologize. No, you're fine. I'll bring you your own copy. It's a really, really good book. And so a lot of the wisdom keys, like you said, success leaves clues.
Right.
And so I look at people who actually have wisdom that is universal. Yeah. And I glean wisdom from there, and I apply it to all of what I have going on.
Yeah, no, that's really good. I feel that I come from the same kind of not background because I didn't get pregnant, but
but I thought you did. I thought you was.
I've been carrying my whole life probably. Yeah. So
I hear you.
But I did. I woke up at a moment, right? Like I wanted to be a fighter. I wanted to be, all these hobbies that I picked up. I wanted to do them professionally. It wasn't until I started just listening to successful people, mentors, motivational speeches, which I actually can't listen to motivational speeches anymore. It just doesn't do it for me anymore. Yeah. But it was a wake-up call at first. So to get into that mindset. So yeah, definitely following around clues. People like this conversation. I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of things that people will take from this conversation and use them towards their success, hopefully, which is the whole point of this conversation.
Okay.
So yeah, all those points that you just touched, they're 100% truth. Also for me as well. I did want to touch upon before we jumped on real estate. You have a few things that are coming up that I think are pretty interesting, and I think they're very helpful to some people. Then we can kind of touch on it, right? So you have we talked about the Vivian's Pantry outreach, and you said there is donation spots and places where they can donate, but you also have a scholarship for women.
Oh yeah,
as well.
I'm so excited about this scholarship. So, again, with the honor being my master key, right? Recently of late, I had suffered a major loss. I experienced a major loss with the passing of my aunt. She was second in command. So when I told you about how I moved a lot from New York to Miami, I was living with this aunt. So all of the change, like the back and forth, it would be to her. And she was literally a gift from God for me,
right?
And my mom, because she helped my mom as well, and not just me, but my other siblings as well. And that's just who she was. But the scholarship is named. It's an all-care scholarship for women, and it's named after both of these strong women in my life, Vivian Samity Alisma and Monique Anisette Abraham. And the scholarship is for women of color that are in the studying, either nursing and Christian ministry. I wanted to support women who are going to school for either one of those fields, one of those fields. And so I'm excited about it because this is where accountability comes in. One of the ladies in my group said, "What are you going to do before the end of 2021?" And I said, "Man, I have a scholarship idea, but I'm not sure." And she's like, "You need to launch it."
Yeah.
And I was like, "All right, feet to the fire, let's do it." Right. And so that's how this was launched, and so just to tell you a little bit about it, we want to be able to give our first round of scholarships in the fall of 2022 to some really deserving women who are either pregnant or parenting that want to further their education. So what was your question?
Oh, I was going to say, what do they need to do?
So the criteria is be a woman of color.
Yep.
Be pregnant or parenting.
So when you say a woman of color, it just means anything but white.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm happy you asked. Someone's going to ask. But you have to be a woman of color. Be pregnant or parenting. And then there's a whole list of different scholastic criteria that you will have to meet in addition to submitting an application to either receive a $300 book stipend or receive one of our $1,000 scholarships or be one of the two recipients of our $2,500 scholarships. So we're going to have everything we have right now everything on social media as far as connect with us on Vivian's Pantry Outreach on Facebook. And we're working actively to get our website live. And so I'll be more than happy to share that with you, of course.
Send me the link. I'll
send you the link. And so right now, again, on that flyer, the QR code, you can designate your giving. You can designate it to our upcoming Thanksgiving for the Family, where Vivian's Pantry partners with pregnant and parenting families this Thanksgiving. Or you can say, hey, you know what? I'm more interested in helping pregnant and parenting moms who want to go back to school and finish their education, right? That's a part of that community that says, hey, what do we do to support those who need it? And so the scholarship I'm super excited about because it really is going to help. It's really going to help a lady that says, I need to go back to school so I can better myself and my baby's life.
And the scholarship is contributing towards that.
100%. 100% of the proceeds are going to go to that woman, and it's gonna help her turn her life around.
It's a very pivotal moment. For them, of course.
You see me smiling and getting giddy because I just know that it's not enough to say I want to help. Let's help.
So let me ask you this though: why only women of color though?
Because I'm a woman of color.
I understand.
But no, more than that. Let me explain why. It's because I know every organization has to know their niche and who they're assigned to.
Okay.
And so it doesn't mean that I'm not assigned to Caucasian women or white women or European women. I don't know what the politically correct name is. But I wanted to make sure that, let me say this. I wanted to be able to respond to the cases of African American and Latina and women of color
Yeah.
that are more prone to experience unwanted, unplanned, or crisis pregnancy.
Right.
So because that is the predominant that is the predominant group that is impacted by that, I
Right.
wanted to help that group
group.
specifically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah, and
Thank you for asking. I was like, oh my gosh, I know why.
yeah. No,
Yeah.
I'm keeping you on your toes. It's
Sure,
okay.
thank you.
No, I'm all for support of anything.
Yeah.
Right. Because I think the Hispanic community does a great job of keeping everything within the family.
Okay.
Right, and helping each other out. When there's a when a Canelo fights, right? I mean, I'm talking about if you're Mexican in the United States or in Mexico, anywhere in the country, you're supporting this man, right?
Okay.
And I don't think that the culture is the same for other people of color or
Yeah.
Hispanics of other islands,
Okay.
things like that. So I think that having that community outreach to like that niche is good.
Yeah.
Now, I've seen other posts and other things that are like only support black business, right? Things
Okay.
like that.
Okay.
And I feel that that kind of creates a sense of like separation from like, okay, so we're not purchasing things based on how good it is. We're purchasing things on, just because of the color, right? When we're supporting that, just because of that.
Yeah.
In a sense, right? In a sense, then we're also considering saying that like, hey, well, we need to support this black business because it's hurting,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
okay.
that's where that support comes from. But then I also feel that I don't think that the people that are suffering that do need the help, I don't think it's based on race. I really believe that it's based on where you stand on your economics, not economics, but like I feel that there's people that are elites, right? That they're rich, but I actually know more wealthy black people than I know wealthy white people, and I'm sure that they're out there, and they're probably by a percentage more wealthy white people or whatever. I don't know the percentages, but what I do know is that there is a lot of poor. Right. So if somebody has a startup and they're just like from Southwest, where I'm from, I knew a couple of white people from the Southwest, and they have their startup businesses, but they're not getting that community support because they just so happen to be white.
Okay.
But we all come from the same economic structure. So that's why I was pointing out to the whole color thing, because I think that there's a economical separation and not so much on the race.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so for me, this is more than just a color. It's in addition to one of the criterions, but again, it's a need-based scholarship. So we're addressing again a specific need to a specific group of people.
Yeah.
I would love to say, hey, I can do and be and finance everyone, but I
Right.
can't.
But you
That's
can't.
not realistic.
Yeah.
So I think that when someone says what you said as far as, well, support black businesses. Now, I don't know if it says support black businesses only, or if it just says, which I've seen, support black businesses.
Yeah.
Now, the only time that you would have to make that statement is because there's a disparity.
Right.
Right? The only reason why I would create a scholarship, because I see that there's a need in this demographic. So I can only address a need that speaks to my heart, that I'm passionate about, where I can rally people together to meet the need.
Yeah.
And so it's important if we all, no matter the color or the economic background, right, that we find that group and pour into that demographic and that that economic need as well for them. So if I do my part, you do your part, Eric does his part, everyone does their part, then there won't be any gaps. But I'm very, very, very careful and very strategic on the things that I'm passionate about and who I'm assigned to help.
Yeah.
Right. And in this particular area, I know for women of color, it is not as easy to have access to scholarships. Whereas when I was in school, I mean, I'm a mom, and scholarships helped me from my associates to my bachelor's degree to my master's degree, right? And then to my so all of this.
We didn't even touch on our master's degree. Okay, keep going.
What?
We didn't even touch on your master's degree.
It's fine. So my degrees were a combination of the generosity of people that poured into my life.
Yeah.
And also student loans, which I hate, but that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
I had a goal in mind.
Yeah.
Now, everything that someone pours into my life motto is pour it back.
Right.
I received a $2,000 scholarship when I was pregnant with my second child.
Okay.
And that helped me immensely
I bet.
to finish my bachelor's degree.
I bet.
So my heart is I'm going to pour it and pay it forward into someone else's life.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that for me.
No, that's awesome.
It's not any, prejudice or bias.
Yeah,
It's, how have I been helped?
Yeah.
And I help and I pay it forward in the way that someone helped me. That's all.
No, I think support Black businesses. It's very important too.
Yeah.
I'm a huge supporter in small business.
Yes.
Period.
So am I, yeah.
So that's kind of where I stand on it. I think I've seen a hashtag like support Black business only.
Really?
Yeah. Or I've seen a friend that's like, hey, send me your. I'm trying to get this. Send me your businesses, but you can only be a Black business.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, well, that's kind of.
Listen, it can rub you the wrong way, but I mean, it's the same thing if it's Latinos only or Caucasian
I don't
only type thing. But can I tell you the truth? When you have communities, if you have communities that do that, the reason why I don't feel some type of way is because I feel like that's who they're called to.
Right.
I can't be upset if they feel like, hey, they want to start an organization or create a club just for Latinas.
Yeah.
They know the plight. Yeah. They're in the community.
And there's like a Hispanic Realtors Association.
Yeah.
So I see it.
There's a Hispanic one. There's a Pride, Realtors Association. Yeah. There's, Black women, business owners. So whatever your passion is, your niche is, that's where you create for that what speaks to you most.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%.
So I say that to say on the QR code, you can designate your giving now towards the scholarship.
Yeah. Are you going to send me that code so I can put it
it's
on?
It's on that flyer in your hand.
It's on the flyer.
Absolutely.
We'll have it up on the screen here.
Yeah.
Let's pause it for 5 seconds here. There you go. We'll have it on there. We'll tag it in.
Thank you.
Anybody that you want to, give a shout out to, you want to plug in anything, you want to, let us know something that we should have known, but we don't know.
No, I think we talked about everything and then some.
Let me ask you one last question. I'm sorry. I know
Sure.
that you were going to go into that. I just remembered another question. What's a moment of adversity, right, where you had to come up on the other side and we're like, okay, I got through this? What's the most toughest moment that you had to go through?
Oh, my gosh. What do you mean? Tell me a time frame, because I've gone through a lot of tough moments.
Where you're like, this was a pivotal point in my life.
I think a pivotal moment in my life, one of them, apart from, of course, teen pregnancy, was a pivotal moment. Making a life-affirming decision, despite being pressured heavily to abort my baby girl that's sitting here to the left of me. That was a pivotal moment that I was able to come out of by God's grace. Another pivotal moment for me was breaking a generational curse where education was concerned. Yeah. Education for me is more than just a piece of paper. I mean, I don't even know where the certificate is now. It's more than a piece of paper, but what it represents is more important to me. Yeah. And why I say that is because my aunt, Monique, wasn't able to finish her education. Yeah. My mom, Vivian Samadia Lesma, wasn't able to finish her education. Yeah. So when my mom passed, I took her JanSport backpack full of school supplies because she couldn't be accepted into nursing school, and she passed without finishing nursing school. And I took her backpack and I told myself and God, if you help me, I will finish what they couldn't. So for me, that was a pivotal moment because I knew that I had 5 children and I cannot require of them to embark on a journey that I myself am not willing to go on. And so me finishing my bachelor's degree was hell and high water. I was pregnant with my fifth child.
Wow.
And I took 4 classes.
Yeah.
And I was running my business.
Yeah.
And just grinding it out so that I can
Exactly why
quickly deliver my child before she was, finish school. So that way I can make sure she was delivered in July and graduate in June.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I hope my timelines are right. So I literally, spring semester was done, graduated in June. My baby was born in July.
Yeah.
And that type of tenacity only comes when you have vision and when you have community.
Right.
That is cheering you on and saying, look, the finish line doesn't just count on, it's not just you that has to make it across the finish line, but everyone coming behind you.
Right.
And all the women that I'm called to talk to today
Right.
and say, hey, it's not going to be easy. So that's why I can give a scholarship and say, hey, look, I know your plight.
Yeah.
I know what it was to go to school. My associates, I was pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
My bachelor's degree, I was pregnant. Only for my master's degree, thank you God, I wasn't pregnant, So I know what that struggle and that weight, that toil, that grit that's required. And that was a pivotal moment. When I walked across the stage, I was 7 months pregnant. I mean, just whole waddle, grabbing my degree.
No excuses.
And that's my why. That was a very, very turning point. So I could look at my daughter now and be like, what's your excuse? I can look at my sons now.
Yeah, exactly.
And like, what's your excuse? And even if it's not, college, whatever it is that that you're trying to do different, do better. I tell my kids all the time, I was like, look, I'm not the goal. Mm-hmm. There is a goal that far exceeds everything that I'm doing or that I could do, exceed anything that I've done. Yeah. They have permission. They have the wherewithal. Mm-hmm. They have the training. They have the support. And they see that nothing came to their mom and father easy. So they too can accomplish.
They were able to witness everything.
Absolutely. Yeah. I didn't hide any of that from them. Whether it's passing grades, failing grades, they knew it all. Yeah. They knew it all.
I know I asked you to plug in your people, but you're also doing real estate.
Yes, I am an agent.
You are an agent. So let me just plug this in right now. If you're just tuning in right now, I have Lovely Metellus with me. And this podcast is sponsored by City Insight Houston. If you're looking for your next rental, your next purchase, or if you're looking to sell your house and move into another bigger, amazing house, please contact us here at City Insight Houston at cityinsighthouston.com. All right, we're back. Yes. So you're back. So you're real estate. You're an agent, right? So you took all these things, all these components of your life.
Yes.
You're able to build community. You're able to build a home. You're able to everything. And now you're bringing that to others as well.
Absolutely.
To purchase a house.
Yes. And so one of the goals is to empower women, and ownership is one way to be empowered as well.
Right.
And so I love that I'm able to be on this side of the table because I do get to have a well-informed conversation about home ownership and loans and what that looks like, and then bring that conversation to a group of women that may not be privy to that. Yeah. So I love that. It's empowering all around. Yeah. Okay. And so as a real estate agent, I love it. It gives me flexibility, and it also allows me to do all of the many things that I do. I really do believe what I say when I say ownership is for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I fell in love with that quote.
That's my mantra. That's your mantra. Yeah. Ownership is for you.
For sure.
So whatever you want to own it, and it's for you.
Yeah. So. All right. So ownership is for you. Call Lovely.
832-304-4246. If you're in the market to buy, sell, lease, invest, and if you're relocating, I'm really good with that as well. So.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Realestatingwithlovely.com. So realestatewithlovely.com.
RealestateWithLovely.com.
Not real estating.
Realestating.
RealestateWithLovely.com.
That's awesome. Do you want to plug in anybody that you think should get some acknowledgments? Anybody that we should know, we should look up?
Absolutely.
Anybody want to thank?
Yes, please stay connected with me if you want to know all about what's happening in my world. Of course, you can connect with me on Instagram and Facebook at Truth and Love Empowers. If you want to know more about my nonprofit and what we're doing to impact and empower pregnant and parenting women, of course, connect with us on Facebook at Vivian's Pantry Outreach as well. And so I just want to shout out my husband, Charles, my 5 babies, and all of my mentors that I mentioned already. I would love to shout them out again. Dr. Phineas, Pastor Sean D. Mears, and Janet Lamel.
Awesome. Hey, Lovely, I want to thank you for coming in and having this chat with me. I hope that, this reaches out to all the right people. Yeah. And it helps them. And also, it's also something that you also get to keep, and it should be there forever. I was thinking the other day I was making more YouTube content for my daughter because, that'll be there forever. Yeah. And if she ever wants to have, kind of like a kind of remember, which I was debating about it because I was like, okay, well, maybe when somebody passes away, maybe they should just, pass, and they shouldn't have a constant reminder of like, oh, I can see my dad on YouTube or something. Yeah. So I'm having that mental battle right now. But without that, with that being said, I greatly appreciate you coming on and sharing a wealth of knowledge.
Sure.
You're a powerful woman.
Thank you.
Lovely Metellus, thank you.
Thank you so much, Ruben. Growing with Ruben. Stay tuned.
All right. That was good.
Cool. Look at his face.